What is up, my fellow Cheebits? Hopefully all of you are having a very, very, very good day today. And so with that being said, The Promised Neverland gives us a lot of answers instead of a lot of questions. Now don't get me wrong, there was some questions in this chapter, but most of this chapter was to give clarification to many things that we have been wondering about. And one of my biggest ones that I had from last week was, did the kids just forget that the dude was locked up and just left him be? That does not appear to be the case with this chapter, which I am very, very happy with. That really bugged me with the last chapter because I was upset that just for conflict's sake, that the children forgot that the dude was locked up for like an entire night and an early morning, and he was just going to escape because of that, because they were being incompetent, even though the children were supposed to be competent. Well, I'm really glad that that was what they had planned all along. They knew that the man was probably going to escape, and they just led into a certain area to where, you know, Emma and Ray and all of them could actually speak with him. So, like I said, I'm very happy with that. I'm glad, I gotta say, I'm glad that the writer did that. It gives much clarification. That was the biggest thing I wanted answered, and I'm glad it was answered in this chapter. So anyways, let's get into the other important stuff of the chapter, which is information. So one of the big things about this is that information is key. For instance, we've always known when it comes to The Promised Neverland, it's always been a battle of wits and information. If our children gain more information, then they can, you know, figure out what they need to do next. And in this case, they get information on what the next objective is. And they need to go to a new area. And this new area most likely is going to be another shelter. So here's the thing. We seem to have somewhat of an objective now for the series. Instead of just the children escaping from this world and going into the human world, like that's the in-game objective, what I could assume, or maybe the halfway point of the series if a big war happens between both sides. Regardless, though, that's a very far-off thing. Way off into the distant future. A long time from now. And so the short, you know, objective, like to get really close to it, is to go to the next shelter that was pointed out for the children. In this case, they got to go to an area called like A08 or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers or whatever, but I know it started with like an A0. But still, the point is that Emma and Ray, they're going to be going over and trying to see whatever is next, and they're going to just be going with themselves. For instance, they're not going to be bringing the other children. Dawn and Gilda and all the other children, they're going to stay behind, and they are the only ones that are going to be going. Emma and Ray, the oldest. But here's the thing, though. They want to take the adult, the dude that, you know, was drinking tea that's a little bit crazy. We still don't have his name yet, do we? We actually don't have his name. Anyways, that dude, apparently they're trying to persuade the man into coming with them before they can figure out what they need to do. And so we're probably going to get a lot of information about the world, the demon world, but also probably about this dude's past and what type of character he really is. Anyways, though, before we get any further into that, let's also talk about the clarification of how this man got information. So, as we know, it was very obvious that this man had to have been getting information somehow. Because, I mean, he knew just too much about the children. He knew that, you know, they escaped very recently. He knew how many they were. He knew, like, how many days it's been. He was just too aware of the situation. It just didn't make any sense for a man to be in, like, a cage. It doesn't make sense for him to have all this information unless he had some form of outside contact. He was able to figure out what was going on outside without even leaving the place. Or he did leave, but there's more questions that will be tied to that. So, we knew he had to have some form of way to figure out what was going on. Now it is officially confirmed that the monitors that we saw in the room when he was introduced, those are connected to probably other plantations and other areas of interest throughout the demon world. Probably like high up political parts of the world that, you know, have laws and stuff for the demon kind. Because we do know that demon kind, they have their own structure, they have their own society. We know for a fact they have their own religion. We know for a fact that they are not all thinking the exact same thing. So they definitely have their own, like, morals and stuff. And so there's probably going to be, you know, demons out there with their own society, their own, you know, laws and civilization. So most likely these cameras aren't just connected to like plantations where, you know, the, you know, human cattle is, but also to like, you know, let's say equivalent to like, you know, a White House or something. That's probably what maybe these cameras are tied to. Regardless, though, we now know where the man got his information. The question is like, how much information can he gather? Is it just the farms, or is it like a lot of different areas? And in this case, we also gotta wonder, is there a possibility of this ever being tracked? Because if you're, looking into stuff, like you're spying on different areas and all that throughout the world, it's obvious that someone could eventually figure out that you're spying on them. I mean, they just need to figure it out, and if they have any, like, readings or whatever, something's detected for one day down the road, they might figure out someone's spying in on them. So it makes you wonder, will this ever be detected? And if they are detected, that would mean that someone would find the base, and then their entire sense of peace would be just destroyed like that. Now, another thing to talk about is the branding. So it is officially confirmed how the actual tags on the children, what it actually means, but also what it meant for the dude to have it, like, on his, like, stomach, near, like, where his abdomen and stuff is. We now know that there is different brands used for the different farms, which makes sense in a way when you think about how products are done in our society. Okay, let's give an example. Let's say you go to a fast food restaurant. You go to either Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Sonic, whatever. You just go to your favorite fast food restaurant. You know that how they always have their, like, symbol on everything, like their packages and all that, or anything you buy always has their, like, mark, their, their main watermark, or, their actual brand name is on the package or the product or whatever. It's always there. In this case, this is very similar to that. You have it to where the meat is being branded. It's kind of like when you see cattle, like cows, they're actually cattle pronged and they're branded as well, and that's what's happening here. The children got branded, but for these different companies, these different plantations, they're probably their own separate, company. They probably have their own branding. For instance, they do have their own branding, but they have their own method of branding or their own code where you can identify, oh, this is from, let's say, Wendy's, this is from McDonald's, this is from Burger King. You're able to see which one is from which, and that's what's happening here. All the different plantations, the premium plantations, they have their own branding where you can figure out who they're from, what product, and all of that. And they also have their own serial code where they can figure this out. Because let's say you're a shopper, okay? I know this is kind of messed up for me comparing, human cattle to, like, objects in our society, but it's the only way I could kind of get the point across. It's like this. Let's say you get like a new computer, electronic or something, okay? And you get like a warranty on it, or, I don't know, you have this barcode for a game, and there's a certain special serial code that's attached to it. You take it back to the store, they scan the serial code to see if it was used, or if it was stolen, whatever. That's how they could figure out, like, the identity of the product and who bought this at what date, what time, or whatever. In this case, that's what the children are. They have this different separate barcode for their each individual, because when, let's say, one of them escapes, if they're ever grabbed, then they could scan it and figure out where they came from, what time, how old, or how long ago when they were conceived, whatever. This will be identified and they can be brought back to their proper location. But on top of that, let's say someone buys a product from the plantation, like they buy, some meat. Well, if they don't like the product because it doesn't taste really good, they could probably get a refund, and they're like, I don't like this, they'll scan the barcode back, and then they'll probably get their money back or something. Something like that might happen. So I just wanted to point that out, that most likely the barcodes are there for the individual companies for when they sell their product, but also for the companies to figure out if something is lost or if something is not like it should be because of, how they display or advertise it, then obviously they'll need to have a refund. So that's probably what's going on there, why they have their own additional barcodes, different separate ones, is for that very reason. Now, another thing too to talk about is also the books. The books that are all there are very old, actually before 2015 and before. So these books are considered ancient because it's been over 30 years, and that would mean that these books don't really have any relevant data compared to, like, what's going on now. Let's, think about this for a second, okay? Let's go back 30 years. Let's just travel back 30 years into our society. Many things have happened, not just in, like, United States, but all around the world. Many things have been built and changed. Just the entirety of the land has changed considerably in the past 30 years, and that is exactly what we could assume for the demon world. In 30 years' time, buildings, restaurants, roads, everything, civilization could change in just 30 years, and even less than that. In 5 to 10 years, a city that you once looked really small could be very big in 10 years' time. And so the information in these books that's from 2015 and before, obviously it's not as relevant as it once was because many things could change. There could be something that crazy happened, and like maybe a town was set up somewhere that used to be like a barren wasteland. That's what I'm getting at. And so that's why this information can't really be believed 100% anymore, because now that it's so old, so many things could have changed, and the children are in a lot of trouble now because of that, because they can't always rely on that information. So anyways, Besides that being said, I want to talk about the sad moment when the man actually gets up and he's finally free. He tries to get his cookies, and his cookies are gone. The children all ate his cookies. Now I feel bad for the man. Like, okay, I mean, I know the man's an adult. He seems to be like a coward in a way. He holds a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's probably seen a lot. But I was kind of like on the children's side. But now after seeing them eat his cookies, I'm like, these are some cruel demons. They're like little demons. They just ate this man's cookies. Like, they come in and they devoured his cookies. They didn't even ask him. They just ate all of them, and they left it there. They left it there for him to see that all the cookies were gone. That's cruel. That's really cruel, because I know how I am. When I like cookies or whatever, when I want Reese's Cups, and there's a bunch there, and let's say someone's around, and, you know, I left them sitting out or whatever, someone grabs and starts eating them, and I go back to check, and it's gone. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I wanted to eat those, and I felt very bad for the dude, because you know for a fact the man wanted cookies, and they ate them all. So jokes aside, though, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. I'm looking forward to seeing exactly if the man is going to cooperate and work with Emma and Ray. That's still left to be said. We don't really know. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. And if you want to, leave a like on this video. Please subscribe if you want to. And also, if you want to support me for future videos, please go into the description and donate to me on Patreon. So please be safe. Chibi out.